So it's a long story, but I graduated from Ballard High School when I was 15 years old, and single mom, didn't have any money. Nobody in my family had gone to college, so I just started community college when I was 15. And I was working at a print shop, and one afternoon I heard the Ron Bailey commercial that you guys play ad nauseum on your show. And so I called. I remember this precisely. I was in the middle room of this warehouse in the print shop, and I called and I said, "Hey, how much is this? How much want to be on the radio?" And the woman said, "It's $34.95." I said, "Oh, and what do you get for $35?" No, it's $3,495, which that was 1979. In today's terms, that's like $2 billion. So I went, and they had me read a list of words that some people mispronounce. And the guy said, "Well, you certainly meet our standards and even exceed some of them." And then he gave me a federal aid form, so I'd be on the hook for $3,500. And there I was. So Sherry, it's true. Everything about it is true. It was a rigorous 9-month course where I learned how to splice reel-to-reel tape together. And, I met a guy there who was in his 60s, worked in Everett Radio. He hired me as an intern under the condition that I go to the University of Washington and get my degree. And so I started interning at this Everett radio station. I went to the UW. I started doing play-by-play of Husky football and basketball and volleyball and baseball there. And then that got me an internship at King 5. And at King 5, they had a radio station called King 1090. And I kicked down their door and said, "Give me a talk show." And then KIRO bought King 1090. And they brought me over to do morning news and sports on The Buzz with Pat Cashman. And then 6 months later, I weaseled my way into a noon to 3 slot. And here I am today.
Wait, hold on a second.
The
best part of the story. Yeah. This old guy, Sherry, that was just never had 2 nickels to put together. Even into his late 80s and early 90s, he was still sleeping on the floor of a broken down old radio station somewhere in the state of Washington. Dori knew his car by the look of the car and the sound of the car. This guy had no money whatsoever. And he hears the car coming down the road. It's at 7 o'clock at night or something like that. There's a knock at the door.
It's weird to hear you telling my story with incorrect
I'm just setting it up. Setting it up.
Okay, no, go ahead. I know you think you can tell stories better than anybody.
Okay,
so please go ahead and tell my story.
No. I'm just getting you going. Okay, so there's a knock at the door. Here's this old guy. You open the door, and there's the man that has absolutely no money, but all this faith in you, right?
Yes. He was a Seattle sports anchor at King 5 in the 50s and 60s. He's in the Hydroplane Hall of Fame. His name is Bill O'Mara. And he's the one who said, "I'll make you my intern, but you have to go back to the UW." I went for 1 quarter, and I was out of money. I could not afford a second quarter. So I talked to him, and I said, "Hey, Bill, I'm sorry. I'm going to just take 1 quarter off, work more than full time, save money, and then I'll go back to the UW after a quarter off." And it was actually 11:30 at night. His KWYZ, Radio 123 in Everett. It was a Renault Le Car and came up my mom's road. I was 18 years old. And at 11:30 at night, I have no idea how he knew where I lived. He walks up, knocks on the door, and John is correct, Sherry. He slept in a sleeping bag in his mid-60s on the floor of this radio station because he didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. And he reached in his pocket and he pulls out a roll of 6 $100 bills, which was UW tuition at the time. And he tried to hand it to me. I said, "Bill, I can't take that." And he said, No, we have a deal. And I said, "Bill, I can't take that." And he insisted that I take it. And I went the next day on his insistence, enrolled at the UW. And then shortly thereafter, I met my wife in one of my classes at the UW, and we just, this summer will be our 35th anniversary. That's the reason we have the 3 daughters that we have. And about 10, 12 years ago, somebody called me who knew that I knew O'Mara, and he was in a hospice up in Edmonds. And I raced up after a Friday show, and there was nobody in his room, and I held his hand. I don't know if he could hear me, but for about, half hour, I talked. And he was in a morphine haze in the last hours. And I told him, and he knew my wife, he knew my girls, and I just thanked him for my life, because my wife, my daughters, my career were all because he gave me that money to go to the UW, and I met him when at the Ron Bailey School of Broadcast when I was 17 years old. So that's the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say.